Good afternoon, my name is Stephen, and I'm going to share with you how rural transformation can happen through connectivity, using the internet to connect smallholder farmers and impoverished farmers to markets. But first, let me introduce you to Mary. Mary is a smallholder farmer in northern Uganda. She grows soya on a very small piece of land, and she's pretty good at it. The challenge for her is getting the produce to the market. You see, there are very poor roads, the farmers there are unorganized, and the middlemen take advantage of her by cheating her on the prices and also on the weights. As TruTrade, we have come with a solution that addresses this. And the solution is very simple: to put more money in the hands of smallholder farmers, to enable them to produce more, to invest in things like education and healthcare. And we call this service our Market Connect service. We've also found a solution to help buyers to be able to source sustainably and ethically, providing full transparency across the whole supply chain. And we call this service our Market Connect service. As a result of this, we've also been able to create employment for village-based agents we call our aggregators, who earn a commission for every kilo that they aggregate. How do we do this? As I said, we use technology, and we've realized that technology can be able to be providing the link between smallholder producers and the markets. And we've developed a bespoke platform that enables us to manage the entire supply chain by digitizing all the transactions, not only giving us the necessary business intelligence, but more importantly, to be able to give the farmer independently verifiable trading records, enabling them to access finance. Let me introduce you to Amina. Amina is one of our first female agents to be onboarded. She was trained on how to use a mobile application. And how she works is basically when a farmer brings her produce, she weighs it, she verifies it, enters the details of the farmer on the mobile phone, able to trigger a payment, and within 15 minutes, the farmer will be able to get the payment on their phone. She's been able to touch about 200 livelihoods in her village. We've seen agents like her and many others being able to make a revolution in rural Africa. We've been able to touch about 3,000 different farmers, and we're addressing the simple issue of making value chains work and meaningful for these impoverished farmers by connecting them to markets in a much more sustainable way, in a much more fairer way, so that they're able to make a living. Putting more money in the hands of the farmers can begin to transform their story. How do we want to grow? We want to increase our footprint. And we realize that we are part of the solution. We are not the only solution. We are part of the solution. But to do this, we need to be able to expand our network, expand our reach, to engage more agents on the ground, to be able to reach more farmers, to be able to generate more income. And we not only see this solution useful in Africa, but also applicable in other parts of the world, in Asia and in Latin America. Our big ask is this: we need partners. We need partners who will be able to open for us doors into larger and more established supply chains. We need mentors to work with us, to be able to give us the necessary advice, again, because we don't have all the answers. But we also need the working capital, and that's the reason why we're in this particular initiative, so that we can be able to push more, we can be able to onboard more agents, we can be able to train more people and make a difference. To answer the question, is rural transformation possible? Our answer as TruTrade is a resounding yes. And that's by transforming how these impoverished farmers access markets. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well done. So if you were to win the prize, what would be the first thing that you would do?
We would use the money to onboard more agents almost immediately. We believe that that's scalable. We know that demand exists. And we want to meet that demand. The biggest challenge is the supply is never enough to meet the demand. So we want to increase our footprint, onboard more agents, so that we can be able to reach more farmers.
Hi. Thank you for the presentation. Can you give us a little bit more insight into how the business model works? Like, how do you make it financially sustainable? Like, who is paying for it at what point of the chain? Thanks.
Yes. So we have two services that we provide. One to the smallholder farmer, and that's a free service. But we provide also a first mile sourcing solution to to the larger markets. So there's agri-processors, we're looking at exporters, we're looking at the international markets. And this is a paid-for service, and this is where we generate our revenue. We take a commission by providing this service to them, taking out the complexity of dealing with smallholder farmers across rural Kenya, and ensuring that they get traceable goods. They have full transparency on the costs involved in acquiring those goods, but also get the quality and the consistency in volume that they require.
Hi, Stephen. Thank you very much. Right now you're working with 3,000 farmers, smallholder farmers, and you want to go to 30,000 and 100,000 and maybe 30 million. But in order to achieve this, you need to grow at the same time the number of smallholder farmers, agents, aggregators, buyers. So, I mean, everyone in the whole value chain at the same time. How are you going to address this challenge?
We know that two things exist. Two things are very constant: demand and supply. We figured out the demand side, and we understand that there's a huge demand of produce across different value chains, especially the ones that we're dealing with. To be able to meet that demand, we definitely need to grow our supply base, and that's the real big challenge. No one is looking at the smallholder farmer. No one wants to touch them. They're expensive to deal with, they're complicated to deal with, they're scattered all over the place, and that's the headache that we're really trying to address. We don't have all the answers, but we are making a fast stride in addressing this particular issue by ensuring that they're plugging into these supply chains. How else are we going to be able to change the rural settings, these impoverished farmers, by not enabling them to plug into this particular supply chain? So obviously, yes, we need a bigger footprint, we need more agents, we need to onboard them, we need to have them trained in using the smartphone. We need the farmers also to accept the service and to be willing, to move from, a cash-based economy to a cashless kind of transaction, and also now enable them also to get the trading records that can enable them to access the finance that they need to invest more in production.
Stephen, thanks for a great presentation.
Thank you.
Aggregators, 400, seems like a high number when you consider the probably higher rates of illiteracy, and also that these are, there's very little cash in these rural economies. So explain the onboarding process, how you overcome the illiteracy and suddenly have people dealing with effectively large sums of money.
Absolutely. So one of the unintended consequences of digitizing the value chain was that we took out the risk of handling cash right at the village level. Two things happened. We found that more women got the confidence to start producing. So you find more women are getting into production, getting actively into farming. But also we found that women are interested now in becoming aggregators because now they don't have any risk. And so when we walk into a community, we find that by offering this particular proposition, you get a lot of buy-in. It costs us about $120 to onboard an agent. That's the training that they need to give them the material, because we're training them in post-harvest handling also, and also in the dynamics of how those value chains work. As we continue to grow that, we realize that our popularity grows because of word of mouth. They'll see that Amina is working and she's able to earn a commission, that her income is growing, that she's able to expand. And more and more people are beginning to be attracted to this particular model, and that's how we see that working. We also work with business groups, farmer business groups and farmer cooperatives who nominate potential agents and enable us to reach even a further, a bigger pool of farmers that way.
Stephen, really great job. Question, because of the access to growers, are you doing anything on the agronomy side or working with partners to enable that?
Yes, we are. We believe that collaboration is key. We don't have all the answers. One of our key investors is actually in the production side, and we work with organizations that are doing a lot in training farmers on how to plant better, to grow more, so that they can have more yields. We realize that in certain areas, farmers are only able to get, 30% of what a typical farmer would be able to get in terms of yield. And we're seeing that now that's beginning to increase. But the biggest issue that we're really trying to address is the market access. Yes, they may be able to produce more, but where are they going to sell it? How are they going to make money out of it? And that money, can it come back to them so that they can invest in more production, in healthcare and in education.